The recipe for betrayal. The first sign of trouble arrived on a busy Friday night, tucked between orders of my signature laksa and caramelized pork belly. A customer flagged down their server, face pinched with disgust, holding up a strand of dark hair coiled in their noodles. "This is unacceptable," they declared loudly enough for nearby tables to hear. "How does this happen in a supposedly high-end restaurant?" I, Olivia Chen, owner and head chef of Wild Ginger Modern Asian Kitchen, rushed out from behind my beloved wok station. "I'm so sorry," I began, but the customer was already posting photos to their food review account. By morning, the incident would be all over social media. What I didn't know then was that this wasn't just bad luck. It was the first ingredient in a carefully crafted recipe for destruction, cooked up by my own parents. The Chen family had been in the restaurant business for 3 generations. My grandfather started with a small takeout place in San Francisco's Chinatown. My father, Richard Chen, expanded it into Chen Restaurant Group, a chain of 30 authentic Chinese-American restaurants across California. Growing up, I spent more time in restaurant kitchens and playgrounds, learning to fold dumplings before I could write my name. "One day, all this will be yours," Dad would say, gesturing at his empire of sweet and sour pork and chow mein. The Chen legacy. But I had different dreams. While Dad was building cookie-cutter restaurants serving Americanized Chinese food, I was falling in love with the diverse flavors of Asia. I studied at culinary schools in Singapore and Hong Kong, trained under renowned chefs in Thailand and Vietnam. Developed my own style that blended traditional techniques with modern innovation. When I announced my plan to open my own restaurant in San Francisco, not as part of the Chen Restaurant Group, the temperature in our family home dropped 20 degrees. "This is a betrayal," Mom declared, her voice sharp as a cleaver. "After everything we've invested in your future." "I'm not betraying anyone," I argued. "I'm just creating something of my own." Dad's response was worse than Mom's anger. He just looked disappointed, like I was still the little girl who'd burned her first batch of fried rice. "You'll understand someday," he said. "Family business comes first." I opened Wild Ginger anyway, pouring my savings and my heart into transforming an old warehouse in San Francisco's Hayes Valley into my dream restaurant. Exposed brick walls showcased local artists. The open kitchen let diners watch as we created modern interpretations of traditional Asian dishes. Every detail, from the handmade ceramic plates to the carefully curated wine list, reflected my vision. For the first 6 months, we were the talk of the city. Glowing reviews in local magazines, celebrities posting photos of our crispy chili prawns, reservations booked weeks in advance. Even my parents seemed to be coming around, occasionally dining at Wild Ginger with their restaurant industry friends. Then came the hair in the laksa, followed by a series of 1-star Yelp reviews complaining about food quality and service. A health inspection that mysteriously found temperature violations in our perfectly maintained freezers. Small problems that started adding up to big trouble. "Just bad luck," my sous chef Marcus insisted, but the knot in my stomach told me otherwise. The final ingredient dropped on a quiet Tuesday afternoon. I was in my office reviewing supplier invoices when my phone buzzed with a text from my cousin Lisa, who worked as a manager at one of Dad's restaurants. "Check your email. You need to see this." The email contained an internal memo from Chen Restaurant Group, marked confidential. My hands shook as I read it. RD, Project Wildcard. Asterisk continue negative review campaign through contracted services. Asterisk proceed with health code violation plans. Asterisk monitor targets finances for optimal acquisition timing. Asterisk maintain pressure until subject accepts merger offer. There was more, pages of detailed strategies for destroying my restaurant's reputation while making it look like natural business failure. The ultimate goal: force me to sell Wild Ginger to Chen Restaurant Group at a fraction of its value. My own parents were systematically dismantling everything I built. I sat in my office for a long time, staring at the lacquered chopsticks mounted on my wall, a gift from the chef I trained under in Singapore. "Remember," he told me, "a good meal requires 3 things: skill, heart, and truth." The truth was now staring me in the face, documented in corporate memos and carefully planned sabotage. The question was, what would I do about it? My phone buzzed again. Mom this time. "Dinner on Sunday. Your father wants to discuss a business opportunity." I bet he did. I texted back a quick agreement, then called Marcus into my office. "I need you to do something," I said, pulling out my laptop. "But first, I have to tell you what we're really up against." Over the next hour, I laid out everything: the coordinated bad reviews, the suspicious health inspections, the corporate sabotage campaign. Marcus listened, his face darkening with each revelation. "Those reviews did seem suspicious," he said when I finished. "Too similar in tone, posted at regular intervals. But your own parents? That's cold." "Family business comes first," I quoted bitterly. "I need your help to prove what they're doing. But it has to be airtight. No one will believe this without concrete evidence." Marcus cracked his knuckles. "What's the plan, chef?" I pulled up the security camera feeds on my laptop. "First, we document everything. Every random health violation, every suspicious customer complaint. I want timestamps, video footage, names. And then, I thought about Sunday dinner, about sitting across from my parents while they pretended to care about my struggling restaurant, about the manila envelope Lisa had promised to send me containing more internal documents. Then we prepare a special menu for the Chen Restaurant Group, something they won't expect." The next few days passed in a blur of preparation. During the day, I ran my restaurant as usual, maintaining our high standards despite the continued stream of fake complaints and suspicious incidents. At night, Marcus and I compiled evidence, building a case that would be impossible to ignore. On Friday, 2 days before the family dinner, a health inspector showed up for another random check. But this time, we were ready. "Interesting timing," I said pleasantly as he walked through my kitchen. "Third inspection in 2 months. Must be some kind of record." He shifted uncomfortably, not meeting my eyes. I'd done my research on him too. Hired 3 months ago, no prior experience in restaurant inspection. His LinkedIn profile showed previous employment at a private investigation firm frequently contracted by Chen Restaurant Group. "Just following up on complaints," he mumbled, making notes on his clipboard. "Of course." I smiled. "While you're here, would you like to review our security footage? We keep excellent records of all our food handling procedures, every minute of every day." He declined, finishing his inspection quickly and leaving without finding any violations. But I noticed him making a phone call as soon as he reached his car. That night, after closing, I sat in my office reviewing the latest batch of documents from Lisa. Letters from my father to various business associates outlining his plan to bring wild ginger into the family. Receipts for services from companies specializing in online reputation management, or in this case, reputation destruction. Even a draft press release announcing Chen Restaurant Group's acquisition of troubled upstart restaurant. My phone buzzed. "Dad, looking forward to Sunday dinner. Your mother's making your favorite, red-braised pork belly." I stared at the message, remembering all the Sunday dinners of my childhood. The way Dad would quiz me on proper restaurant management between bites of rice. How Mom would remind me that the Chen name carried responsibilities. They taught me everything about running a restaurant, everything except how to handle betrayal from the people who were supposed to support your dreams. I touched the lacquered chopsticks on my wall again, drawing strength from their smooth surface. "Skill, heart, and truth," I whispered. Sunday dinner would certainly have all three, just not in the way my parents expected. Sunday evening arrived with San Francisco's signature fog rolling in from the bay. I parked my car in front of my parents' Victorian home in Pacific Heights, the same house where I'd grown up dreaming of creating my own culinary empire. The familiar scent of Mom's red-braised pork belly wafted from the kitchen, but tonight it smelled less like comfort and more like manipulation. I wasn't the only guest. My father had invited several board members from Chen Restaurant Group along with their spouses, a perfect audience for whatever business opportunity they planned to present. "Olivia, darling," Mom air-kissed my cheek as I entered. "You look tired. Running that restaurant all by yourself must be so exhausting." I caught the subtle emphasis on "by yourself," a dig at my independence from the family business. "Actually, I brought dessert." I held up an elegant box from Wild Ginger, a new recipe I've been working on. Mom's smile tightened. She hated when anyone brought food to her dinners. "Oh, he shouldn't have." "I insist." The dining room was set with Mom's best china, the table arranged with precision that would put military formations to shame. I recognized most of the faces: Uncle James, Dad's oldest friend and business partner, Mrs. Liu from the board of directors, Mr. Zhang, their corporate attorney, all carefully chosen witnesses to my expected surrender. Olivia, Dad stood to greet me, ever the generous patriarch. We've been worried about you. Those recent health inspections, the reviews. Running a restaurant isn't easy, is it? No, I agreed, taking my seat, especially when someone's trying to make it fail. A slight pause in the conversation, quickly covered by Mom offering wine. Your father and I have been talking, she said, filling my glass. About your future, about wild gingers. Challenges. How fortunate, Mr. Zhang added smoothly, that you have such experienced family to help guide you through these difficult times. I took a sip of wine, thinking of the USB drive in my purse, heavy with evidence. Yes, my family has been very involved in my restaurant lately. Dinner proceeded with the usual choreography of a Chen family gathering. Mom's perfectly executed dishes, Dad's carefully casual business talk, the steady undermining of my independence wrapped in concerned questions about Wild Ginger's struggles. Finally, as the plates were being cleared, Dad made his move. Olivia, we have a proposal for you. He nodded to Mr. Zhang, who produced a folder of documents. Chen Restaurant Group is prepared to acquire Wild Ginger. We'll absorb any outstanding debts, handle the reputation issues, and give you a senior position in the company, where you belong. I opened the folder. The purchase price was insultingly low, less than half what Wild Ginger was worth before their sabotage campaign began. Generous of you, I said, my voice steady. Especially since you're the ones who created those reputation issues. The room went silent. Mom's hand froze halfway to her wine glass. I don't know what you mean, Dad said, but there was a warning in his tone. I pulled out my laptop. Let me show you. The next 20 minutes were a systematic dismantling of their scheme. Security footage showing their hired customers planting foreign objects in food. Email chains documenting the coordinated fake review campaign. Bank records tracing payments to their contracted saboteurs. And here's my favorite part, I said, pulling up a final document. The internal memo outlining Project Wildcard. Your entire plan to destroy my restaurant and force me to sell. Very thorough, Dad. You taught me well about documenting everything. Mrs. Liu looked ill. Uncle James wouldn't meet my eyes. Mr. Zhang was already mentally calculating potential legal exposure. Where did you get these documents? Dad demanded. Does it matter? They're real, and you know it. I turned to the stunned board members. But the really interesting part isn't what they did to my restaurant. It's what I found when I started digging deeper. I clicked to a new folder, and gasps filled the room. Spreadsheets, contracts, health inspection reports. Documents spanning years of Chen Restaurant Group operations. Systematic health code violations to cut costs. Kickbacks from suppliers. Tax evasion through shell companies. Is this the family legacy you wanted me to protect? Mom stood up so quickly her chair toppled backward. How dare you come into our home and make these accusations? They're not accusations, Mom. They're facts. All documented, all verifiable. I turned back to the board members. I'm sure the health department, tax authorities, and your shareholders will find them very interesting. What do you want? Dad's voice was cold, but I could hear the fear under it. I closed my laptop. 3 things. First, Chen Restaurant Group signs an agreement never to attempt any acquisition or interference with Wild Ginger or any future restaurants I open. Second, you resign as CEO, effective immediately. Third, the company implements legitimate health and safety practices across all locations. Or I send everything to the authorities. Your choice. The next hour was a blur of urgent phone calls, hasty legal consultations, and rapid negotiations. By midnight, I had signed agreements from both the board and my parents, witnessed by Mr. Zhang, who, seeing which way the wind was blowing, had quickly switched to representing the board's interests. As the last board member left, I turned to my parents. Mom had collapsed on the sofa, still in shock. Dad stood by the fireplace, looking suddenly old. Why? I asked simply. Why not just let me succeed on my own? Because you were supposed to carry on what I built, Dad said quietly, not compete with it, not show everyone a better way. That's what you taught me, to strive for excellence. You just didn't expect me to do it without you. And now, Mom's voice was barely a whisper. Now I go back to running my restaurant. You figure out your lives without the company. Maybe someday, if you understand what you did wrong, we can talk about having a relationship again. I picked up my purse and the untouched dessert box. At the door, I turned back one last time. By the way, I wasn't struggling. Even with all your sabotage, Wild Ginger turned a profit last quarter. Turns out good food, honest business practices, and genuine passion actually work better than manipulation and shortcuts. The fog had thickened when I left, wrapping the street in a soft gray blanket. I drove straight to Wild Ginger, where Marcus was waiting with our late-night crew. "Well?" he asked as I walked in. I held up the signed agreements. We won. A cheer went up from the staff. Someone opened champagne. As I looked around at these people who had stood by me, who had helped gather evidence and maintain our standards despite every attack, I felt a weight lift from my shoulders. "Speech," someone called out. I raised my glass. To truth, integrity, and really good food. May we never sacrifice any of them. The next morning, I arrived early to prep for service, just like always. The news of my father's retirement was already spreading through the restaurant industry. Chen Restaurant Group's stock had taken a hit, but the board's swift action in appointing new leadership and promising reforms had prevented a complete collapse. Wild Ginger's reputation recovered quickly once the truth about the fake reviews and planted complaints emerged. We even gained new customers who appreciated our stand against corporate bullying. 6 months later, we opened our second location in Hayes Valley. I kept the lacquered chopsticks mounted in my office, but added something new beside them: a framed copy of our first legitimate 5-star review after the scandal. Wild Ginger proves that innovation, integrity, and independence are the true ingredients of success, it read. The article mentioned nothing about family drama or corporate sabotage. Those details remained private, known only to those involved. But the lessons learned shaped everything about how I ran my growing restaurant group. Every supplier contract was transparent, every health inspection welcomed, every employee encouraged to speak up about concerns. I built my business on the principles my father had preached but failed to practice: quality, honesty, and respect. A year after that Sunday dinner, I received a letter from my mother. She and Dad had moved to Marin County, living quietly on their savings. She wrote about therapy, about understanding the damage their actions had caused, about hoping someday to repair our relationship. I wrote back a short note. "When you're ready to see me succeed on my own terms, we can talk about dinner at Wild Ginger." They haven't taken me up on it yet. But the invitation stands, just like the principles I fought to protect. Because sometimes the greatest act of love for your family is refusing to compromise your integrity for their expectations. In the end, I did carry on the best parts of the Chen legacy: the dedication to good food, the understanding of how meals bring people together, the commitment to excellence. I just did it my way, proving that family business comes in many flavors, and the best recipes are often the ones we write ourselves. Every morning when I unlock Wild Ginger's doors, I think about that Sunday dinner and the choice I made. In Chinese cuisine, there's a concept called wok hei, the breath of the wok. It's that perfect combination of heat, timing, and skill that makes a dish transcendent. Life, I've learned, has its own version of wok hei. It's finding the right balance between honoring your roots and growing your own garden, between preserving tradition and embracing innovation, between loving your family and staying true to yourself. As I write this, I'm preparing to open my third restaurant. The menu will feature a special dish, my mother's red-braised pork belly, reimagined with my own modern twist. Because sometimes the best way forward is to transform what hurt us into something new and beautiful. That's the real secret ingredient after all. Not the skill, though that matters. Not the recipes, though they're important. It's the courage to stand up for what's right, even when it costs us something we thought we couldn't lose. In the end, I didn't just save my restaurant. I found my own definition of family, one built on trust, respect, and shared values rather than blood and obligation. My staff, my loyal customers, my fellow independent restaurateurs who stood by me, they showed me that family business really does come first. Just not the way my parents meant it. Every night, as I walk through my bustling restaurant, watching people enjoy food made with integrity and passion, I know I made the right choice. Because success tastes sweetest when it's earned honestly, and the best family traditions are the ones we choose to carry forward. That's a lesson worth every bitter bite it took to learn it.